All right, August 1st, 2022. Another discussion of truth. Ian Trottier here. This is basically, typically I do my shows Wednesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. Throughout the course of the past 18, 20 months, since the COVID-19 virus, I began getting an increase, of course, in demand. And so I would do multiple shows on Wednesdays, sometimes on Saturdays, Sundays, other days to incorporate demand. And of the past recent months, I have not been consistent on the Wednesdays, but typically that Wednesday mark, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard is when you can get the release or hear live. I do have select episodes streaming 24/7 on the website, iantrottier.com. And that is basically a compilation of a collection of shows such as Charlotte Iserbyt, who recently passed away. Jordan Maxwell, who recently passed away. I believe Paul Craig Roberts may be one of those selected. He's a former White House economic advisor, Stanford fellow, Oxford fellow. But I've been doing this show since officially the first show was January. I think it was January 3rd of 2017. And I began preliminary preparation for the show in 2016. So I've been doing this research and project, if you will, for 6 years now, folks. And I do it because of necessity. I do it because the deep state has become so entrenched in manipulating the American conceived narrative. It's simply gone too far, and if we allow it to continue to be construed, and to continue to throw shade on the View, then the country will crumble, and it's being dismantled, and it's easy to say that, and it's easy to hear that. It's a totally different thing to react to that. And that's what I've done, is reacted to that. And it just so happened in 2016, I was coincided doing this work with a Donald Trump presidency when he began talking about fake news, when he began talking about deep state. And I never really took into consideration either one of those terms prior to hearing him speak about that. Not that I care about either one of the major political parties in this country, because I think they're both corrupt. But what I will do is stand for the Constitution. And when we came into Miami Beach with the Zika virus, which is why I began doing the research, I was quickly led to Anthony Sutton, who's a Stanford Hoover fellow that walked away from Stanford because of censorship. And he began talking about the corruption in the banking system, the Federal Reserve. So this is basically a quick debrief of what's been happening in the world of Ian Trottier here in the past 8-10 days. Because there have been a lot of developments, and there certainly continue to be lots of developments. I want you to go right now. Well, first off, go to the research tab of my website. That is 5 years worth of research that I've compiled for you. These are free books available online, archived through archive.org, archived through various other institutions, like the World Cat Archive. But these are select publications that I feel are pertinent to helping you understand how the United States has certainly become geographically independent, but it's never become economically independent. Biden being the 46th president, Garfield being, let's see, because of Garfield, there was actually 45 presidents, something like that. But Biden being the 46th president, only one U.S. president has left office without a federal deficit. Now, this is a fact. This was 1842 Andrew Jackson, and he ran on the re-election platform to kill the banks. And that should be alarming to anyone listening to this right now. That should be alarming to you. And it's your decision to sit back in your comfort chair, or sit back in your car, or sit back in your couch, or continue jogging, whatever you do, and just say, it's not pertinent to me. It doesn't really affect me. Yeah, well, it may not affect you, but it will likely affect your children's generation. And if you get that long, it'll affect your grandchildren's generations. And if it gets to that point, then a gold standard, which hasn't existed in this country since 1971, will become you. Whereas what I mean is a digital currency, a cryptocurrency running off of a human being. This is my projection of what I feel global currency is probably heading towards. That's a Microsoft patent. These aren't theories, likely conspiracy, yes, but not theories. And a U.S. Constitution will not be standing. So you can say, well, it doesn't affect me. As you drive your Porsche, or as you get your house painted this year, but folks, if you don't become uncomfortable, and if you don't start realizing that you need to become uncomfortable, then the country that you know and hopefully you love will dissolve. So it's time to get uncomfortable, America. It's time to get very uncomfortable. Okay, so I've been doing what is essentially activism now, of course, as I mentioned, for 6 years, and a lot's happened, and certainly a lot's happened in the past 2 of those 6 years. I do have my book now sitting with the publisher, ready for print. Hopefully I have those this month. The book is Freedom Reserved, No More Lies. And I was recently invited to D.C. by someone I call a sponsor, to engage in an event, a 2-day event from an organization called the America First Priority Institute. Now, outside of Clay Clark's movement, the Reawaken tour that he has with General Flynn, and Patrick Byrne is somewhat associated, outside of a movement like that, nothing in America is going on right now to really make change. Now, Clay doesn't tackle policy. He simply just kind of gains awareness, brings lawyers, doctors, and people that are difference makers to bring, again, to educate and bring awareness to local congregations. And he's been very successful in that. And what Clay has done in so many ways, and the people that have been involved in Clay's movement have kept what I call this deep state at bay. Of course, the Second Amendment is really what keeps them at bay. But outside of Clay Clark, this is the AFPI organization that is about 1.5 years old. They tackle on D.C. policy. So something that sticks out in my mind is I had not returned to D.C. since being at the Ellipse on the 6th of January, where I listened to the president speak. No, I didn't get anywhere near the Capitol that day, nor did I have an intention to get near. I am a nonviolent person and do not promote it. As a matter of fact, I hadn't owned my first gun until the social unrest happened under the Trump presidency, which I feel had nothing to do with Donald Trump. Had everything to do with a deep state attack on social uprising to make his presidency look like it was unstable. That's my personal feeling. So, no, I was nowhere near the Capitol that day. I had been to D.C. Twice that fall. I'd been to D.C. I believe it was perhaps late November of that of 2020, and then I'd been in December once. Maybe twice in December and not in November. But per my recollection, I'd been to D.C. a couple times before that, the prior months leading up to that, or month leading up to that. So D.C. is not something new for me at that time. I was active in making my voice loud and clear in defense of the Constitution and promotion of peace, mind you. Okay, so I had not returned to D.C. since the 6th day of January at the Ellipse there, which also happened to be the day that the unrest there happened on the Hill, and happened to be the last day that that Donald Trump had been there. So he and I making the return the same day to this AFPI event. Where he spoke. Now, I didn't know exactly what to think of D.C. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm fourth generation California. I'm born and raised San Francisco Bay Area. Nancy Pelosi, not a native of California, I believe her husband is. San Francisco is a city very dear to me. I lived there for 8 years in the center of it. Love that city very, very much. But I don't agree with the very liberal-leaning politics. I just simply don't. I'll give an example. The local homeless to the Bay Area would deliberately move into San Francisco to take advantage of the free health care. Okay, I can see the benefit of that. However, when there are certain strides made to cater to someone who is homeless and make sure that their health needs are taken care of, there at times becomes a certain delinquency in character that occurs. So as I was walking back from a dinner, I offered a homeless person a meal that I had. I think it was a piece of pizza that had been untouched, and the person looked at me in disgust and wanted a hamburger. So would not accept. And thought to myself, what is this? What is this? This is over 10 years ago. But I thought to myself, what is this person? He's been doing homeless if they can pick and choose what they eat. Well, they're obviously choosing to be homeless as well. So that's a product, I view, a product of a very liberal policy local to San Francisco, where I think for San Franciscans and those politicians, it comes from a good place in the heart, but it's certainly not how buildings get built, right? It's not how streets get paved. So anyway, so the liberal politics became a little too much for me, and I didn't really know what to think of the current climate in D.C. So I returned. Seemed fine, but I will mention two things. First off, on a side tangent here, what seems to be a report that Nancy Pelosi will be visiting Taiwan, defiant to the Chinese defense minister and the national media, at least reports here in the States. I think this is a great move on her part. You cannot let a communist bully dictate when and where and who you meet with. Certainly, and if it's not on their land. And Taiwan is not their land. Taiwan is a separate nation, much to the disagreement of Beijing. That is my view, and it seems to be that will be Pelosi's view. So she's set to visit today or tomorrow, I believe. I think that's very, very wise of Nancy. We'll wait and see in the next 24, 48 hours what happens there. But the climate in D.C., there was actually a tone of respect. So I didn't really know what, from an outside looking in, I thought, well, there was such a major divide happening. Democrats being intolerant of Republicans, Republicans being intolerant of Democrats. I didn't find that so much in D.C. when I was there for the FBI. What I did find were still many, many people masked and living in some type of fear that this coronavirus was a legitimate threat to their health, and that the Fauci-endorsed mask wearing could actually benefit them. So a lot of people still under this type of psychosis and brainwashing in D.C., which was, I guess, a surprise, but not really. It shouldn't have been a surprise to me. What I did do, as I had attended an event for the Governor Kristi Noem, who I'd met a few times, and I'm sure if she recognized me or not, but I did get a chance to exchange a few words with her. Now, she asked me to step aside, wait for her, as she did her book signings. I stepped aside, and I engaged some of the assistants to the Heritage Foundation in conversation. As soon as I began talking about deep state and fake news and associated that to Donald Trump, I was shunned. Now, the Heritage Foundation was developed in the 1980s, I believe, in support of the Ronald Reagan administration, I believe. So these are people that are Republican, if you will. And again, I don't really identify myself with a Republican or Democrat. I identify myself as a constitutionalist. But certainly the Republican Party of today holds those values. It would be like the Democrat Party of the JFK, and under JFK. And as soon as I began talking about these things, the governor had ended, and they knew I was waiting for her, and they ushered her away from me, as if I was a threat to the governor, that I might talk about fake news and deep state. However, my dialogue with the governor and why she asked me to step aside was because I wanted to talk to her about how she would attack, if you will, or combat the deep state in D.C. But she was immediately ushered away by those assistants as I'd gotten into those topics with her. So, are there very tainted Republican Party, otherwise known as rhinos? Yes, no doubt, absolutely. The AFPI event was successful. That was a non-AFPI event. The AFPI event was very successful in the sense that, yes, Donald Trump spoke, said some wise things. He is by no means stepping out of the arena, not getting out of the fight. Whether he runs in 2024, I don't know. He did not announce, but he's not going anywhere. He's continuing his fight. He sees the importance to save the country. That sounds like maybe a drastic phrase to be using, but certainly, folks, it is not. And you will learn why when you order my book. You can do that right now by going to booksamillion.com or simply type in Trottier No More Lies, Trottier, No More Lies. You read that book and you will understand exactly what you're dealing with in regards to the deep state, and I guarantee you that is the force to be reckoned with. That is the force that is tearing down your country. The contents of that book. It took me 5 years to write that. Well, yes, 3 years, but 5 years of research. Okay. Newt Gingrich is a person that I was able to grace the presence of. Ted Cruz, Senator Rick Scott. And I made some great headway in regards to helping Social Media Freedom Foundation with Jason Fick, led by Jason Fick, make a little bit of movement. As I was able to get assistance with, I believe the name is Kathy McMorris Rogers. She is a congresswoman out of Washington, I believe. And I was able to sit down with, she's spearheading a big tech lawsuit, and I was able to sit down with a couple of her assistants and introduce them to the Social Media Freedom Foundation and Jason Fick. And I was also able to convey that message personally in a separate building, in a separate conversation with Representative Jim Jordan. So I bring these examples out for you folks because these are simply examples that I've been able to do on my own. And if you followed my work and what I've been doing, I've been able to get to Ron DeSantis a couple times face-to-face, let him know about the work that I've been doing. Blast.video, Zach Voorhees, something new, but he's the Google whistleblower. I've been able to try to promote his work and try to get resolution, pardon me, in regards to the big tech tyrant tyrancy, manipulation, and again, these are examples simply of the power that each and every one of us as individuals, regardless of your political alliance, regardless of how you feel in regards to any type of party allegiance, because the Constitution does not bind you to any type of party. But as long as you support that Constitution, it is you voicing your opinion, you writing blogs, you doing podcasts, you going to town hall meetings, you going to DC, you going to state capitol, you going to your local town hall, whatever it may be, you putting an effort forward to make a difference and make your opinion heard and your voice heard. That is what makes a change, and that is what causes and makes a change, and it is that will save this country. Pardon me. So, I merely draw on these various examples to strengthen you and to show you that the efforts of one person, one man, speaking for myself, has done and continues to do and have been doing for half a decade now. Okay, I don't make money at this, folks. This is not making me money. I do this voluntarily. I do this because I know that if I don't do it, pardon me, if I don't do it, I am simply like a dog rolling over, and I refuse to roll over. Okay, just like I heard the crop duster buzz over my head in 2016, Miami Beach, as it sprayed this very toxic, if you will, pesticide banned in the European Union to combat the Zika virus. And it was like a bomb being dropped. There's nothing I could do. Outside of getting in a car, driving away, there's nothing I could do. And the local jurisdiction is saying, oh, you can't even leave your house because it's so toxic. You got to let it evaporate for 2 hours. It was ridiculous. I shouldn't have been using that stuff. So anyway, you have the power to make a difference. You can change, but you must make an effort. And do not think that your effort can't and won't count, because it can and it will. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen by persistence, and you continuing to push forward and continuing to talk and write and voice your opinion. Okay? As is my example of the past 6 years now. And I continue forth because I believe in this country, because I believe in its Constitution. We are the greatest country ever formed and has ever existed on the face of the planet of all time. Of course, of any written history that we've received. There's simply no doubt about that. And I will not stand by and allow myself to roll over like a dog and let this country be taken over. So, go right now, Books A Million, Freedom Reserve, No More Lies, Trottier. Order a copy. They'll be coming out in weeks. The manuscript's been with the publisher for a month and a half. This thing's going to go to print anytime soon. Get your copy right now. Order 5. Send 4 to give 4 away. Friends, family. This is a difference maker here. This helps you put your finger on the pulse of exactly the hidden strings that are pulling the puppet that manipulates this country and aims to destroy it. Make no mistake about it. The deep state, as it's referred to, wants this country completely erased. Okay? That's why the borders are being flooded, because that is meant to break down our communities with social unrest. Okay? Not that all these people are not bad. Let's hope that the majority of them are good, just good, hardworking people. But mixed in there are very bad people. And I'm going to ask myself this question. I don't go into anybody's house without authorization. I don't open anybody's car without authorization. I don't walk in any building without authorization or permission. And I certainly wouldn't enter anybody's country without authorization. So what type of person does enter a country without permission and authorization? Well, somebody who's committing a crime. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they're not good, hardworking people and they just want a better life for their family. I get that. I understand that. Okay. But there are laws that should be followed, and there is an application process that should be adhered to, and they're not. And these borders are just being flooded, and I think something like 8,000 people a day are crossing into this country. That was a number I heard last week. Okay, so that I believe is being deliberately done. Certainly, the Biden administration open border policy, it is deliberately being done. So the strings above him are saying you must do it. Why? Well, to accomplish this global order, I would think, to bring down the integrity of the country so that it does weaken over time. Now, these people are not looking for, again, an overnight change. This country has been under attack to be dissolved since day one. It's made it now 246 years. So for these powers that have been around for centuries and centuries, this country is a threat, but it's nothing that they feel that they cannot deal with. Whether it remains and exists and continues, that remains up to you. So this has been a special edition, a little update in regards to what I've been up to here the past week or so. And again, get the book. I've already started on a new book. Ian Trottier here for Discussions of Truth. Go to Books A Million right now. Get Freedom Reserve, No More Lies. Order a number of copies. Order 5 copies, 10 if you can. Give them away to friends, family, and keep having a great summer. And keep up the good fight, folks. Until next time, be awesome.